Hello, friends. Okay, took me a little bit to get that up. I hope you guys can hear me because when I did the little intro, which you saw just a second ago, I did not hear any audio. So I'm counting on my audio to work. So for those of you who are not familiar with, if you happen to stumble on this episode, I'm Julia Hawley and I co-founded CityClips. We are focused on Tallahassee and North Florida business and tech. And my office neighbors are talking. So sorry for the background noise, and I hope it's not too disruptive. But what I'm going to focus on today, the topic of today is Tallahassee's ecosystem. And what inspired me to cover this topic is because I wanted to highlight my observation of being here and running a business for about 10 plus years now. I celebrated my 10th anniversary not too long ago, and I've been in the marketing space and creative space for about 14 years now, or most likely 20 years since college and graduating. But as far as running my business, freelancing for a while, it's definitely been over 14 years. So I wanted to give you my take on the Tallahassee ecosystem. And I did cover this same talk during Impact Week. And so the more I talk about it, the more clarity I'll get myself as well. And hopefully will help other business owners, early stage startup founders, early stage business owners, and hopefully it'll help you start and grow your business. So taking it from here, I wanted to show you, this is a similar presentation that I covered when I was talking about this during Impact Week. And yeah, so if you're not familiar with the term ecosystem, you've probably heard it a long time ago in biology class, or in terms of like an environment for animals. And so yeah, it's a very similar description. It's pretty much an environment where a creature thrives, right? In terms of business and the community, Tallahassee's ecosystem, like in the world of building ecosystems and growing a city economically and a community economically, this is a very common term that people use, which is the word ecosystem. So it's now become more apparent and clear for those who follow communities and cities and economic development related type of endeavors. So Tallahassee's ecosystem is really interesting. It's unique in a sense because it's a combination of, like, you've got the college town vibe, and then you've got government town because it is the capital of Florida. And then also you've got the county, Leon County, also in the mix. So it's interesting to see how things work around town, and then being a business owner and being in the community and learning more about just how things work in town. It's very complex. So I was thinking, okay, I've been attending a lot of events from, like, let's just say every single type of business, entrepreneurial resource type of organization. And I've heard a lot of the same things, which means we need to break down silos. We need to break down barriers. We have a lot of similar, we see a lot of similar problems and issues around town. And a lot of the times we understand as business owners, like, the business community really helps the community to grow, and to help solve local issues. So, the Tallahassee Chamber is doing a great job being leaders, spearheading this effort in multiple ways through talent development and education programs and things like that. And the Capital City Chamber is doing a great job as well. So yeah, let me go ahead and just start moving forward with this. So hopefully the key outcome is after you hear this talk, if you listen to it, for any of you who actually catch this episode, I hope you get some clarity for those who are early stage. And then, what resources can help you. I get a lot of questions from people who start their business for the first time, especially in Tallahassee. Where should they start? How can they start and grow? And so, yeah, I'd love to save you time and money by just giving you some insights of what has helped me. And I wanted to debunk myths. I wanted to, show that Tallahassee is a great business community and a great ecosystem to start and grow your business. And people might say like, oh, it's hard to grow business here. It's not true. Like there's a lot of businesses in town that survived being here for decades now and also have thrived staying. So it really depends on your market, your key market audience, and what your strategy is and what is your goal as a business owner. So the other thing I would love to do as an outcome is to get started on talking about a clear vision of what Tallahassee's ecosystem could look like. Because right now, I mean, some of the conversations from these events and also just some of the topics that I'm seeing and hearing from leaders is that there's no real clear vision of Tallahassee's ecosystem, but I think it's starting to form and people are starting to get clarity. But we want to figure out and communicate, what do we want to be in 5 to 10 years? So some of the things I did was I pulled examples of other ecosystems to see where they found success and then how things look like for them when they were as small as Tallahassee. So we'll see if I get to that part. So quick background about me, and then, briefly, I'll talk to you about some problems and I identified in terms of like why I also started CityClips, and that's why I'm focusing on this topic today in preparation for how we're going to move forward in 2025 too. Okay, so I attended this really cool event, and I'm super excited about having Dr. Angela along, because she's going to be a guest in an upcoming episode. And this one was called the Future Ready Tallahassee. It was a UX, or I believe it was a UX design or design thinking workshop. So it was a proactive, active, engaging experience of being a part of this event. And they put together a great group of people around the room of local leaders, business leaders, government leaders, educational leaders. So it was a good mix of what you could say comprises the community scene and the Tallahassee ecosystem. So I wanted to highlight that like that's kind of what inspired me to start looking at the vision of Tallahassee's ecosystem. But before I start diving in, of course, you might wonder, like, who is she? what made her think like she can actually talk about this kind of thing? I was like, I mean, who else is putting this at the forefront online? So I would love to get together with those who are interested in getting more clarity on this vision. And apparently people I like it when I do this. They do like that I am highlighting stories of success and growth and focusing on Tallahassee and North Florida. So who am I? I have an advertising background and I'm from San Francisco originally. Like I mentioned earlier, I've been running a branding and storytelling studio, you can say marketing studio, for 10 years now. And CityClips has been it's pretty much almost a little over a year now, a year old, still a baby, but experiencing growth for sure. And in terms of my experience of being in the Tallahassee ecosystem, I am actually surprised. I never imagined that one day I would actually meet really, really amazing people. And when I say 5 Billies here, what I mean by Billies, I coined the term only because I'm borrowing this from my friends at My First Million, is these are billionaires. Like I met 5 billionaires in town through either attending an event or I happened to see them at a coffee shop and I knew that they had they had a business that they were running that was in the billionaire value. So I never imagined that I would have met someone of that status, but also like just really, really, um, it's just a cool experience. You just don't expect that, in a small town like Tallahassee that would happen, but it did. And I mean, I'm from San Francisco. It never really happened to me under college age. And then little did I know I could have had a chance to network with people and probably would have been able to, but I didn't. So, but here in Tallahassee, it was more accessible. Um, and then, of course, I got the chance and opportunity to work with national award-winning leaders, CEOs. It's been a great ride. I've helped over 100 clients accomplish and tackle like over thousands of projects. So yeah, it's been a fun journey for sure. And of course, I've had my episodes. I've produced over 100 plus live episodes. I've grown my online network of over 600, or excuse me, 6,000 connections online. And then I've supported 40 plus interns. And when I mean by support, I actually paid my interns because I wanted to make sure that they knew that I valued their time. And I also wanted to make sure that they actually had effective output and valued the time that they had with Jay's Creative, and they would actually, put in more effort, put in more quality work, and not just be like, oh, I'm just gonna get through this internship, right? And in the end, I've really learned from that experience of being able to employ part-time subcontractors. So it's been a huge experience for me to be able to do that for local FSU, and even I've tried FAMU students too. So yeah, okay. As far as some also accomplishments, other than what I just mentioned, let me see if I can. Yeah, so I got certified with the OEV. I am a minority women small business enterprise. And I went through the JMI Small Business Executive Program. That was a huge benefit for me. I highly recommend it for those who are considering applying. They're, I believe, accepting applications for the spring. So I was class of 19, class 19. And also I'm a DOMI alum. I started my journey at DOMI when I first started my business. So, and I would have never heard about these programs if it weren't for DOMI. So most people might think like it's the little engine that could like DOMI. They underestimate DOMI. I really feel like people need to really support the team at DOMI. And it's a nonprofit organization. It's a small team, but they've accomplished a lot. And they've actually had a recent impact report of, I know the latest numbers are higher than this, but they've at least got economic impact of over $100 million in revenue because of some of the successful businesses that have been tied to starting at DOMI, or whether they're related to DOMI or they've contributed back towards the economy just by being a business affiliated with DOMI. We have DOMI board members that contribute back with their time. We have mentors. A lot of these are partners with great organizations like Jim Moran College and the Capital City Chamber and the Tallahassee Chamber. So it's been a really awesome experience going through that journey. It's 10 years, but hopefully it won't take you as long for you to learn some of the things that I learned along the way. And then going on, like I mentioned, I've I've had a lot of experience with brand storytelling. And so right now I have about 4 team members that are subcontracting with me. Some of my recent work includes doing event graphics. I was heavily involved with Startup Week, which is now known as Impact Week. So when Startup Week was a few years ago, and in partnership with Global Entrepreneurship Week, I had to help with the programming for this and recruit speakers and partners and sponsors. And so we were able to have about 50 plus events to highlight local businesses and leaders. Taking a sip because my throat's starting to like skip a beat. So yeah, when I told you that I actually I got to meet Billy's. Here, let me see if I have, yeah. So this guy, let me see if I can shrink myself. So this guy over here, he was one of the senior VPs of Airbnb, and he helped consult the founders because he focused on He focused on luxury boutique hotels, and so he was really great in educating the founders, being young, on hospitality and great practices and things like that. So yeah, he was able to join them for the wild ride of growing Airbnb, and then so I got to meet him at the Power Forward event, the speaker series, heavily sponsored and ran by First Commerce Credit Union. Highly recommend their events, really cool. And then this guy is the current CEO and president of the Guy Harvey Foundation. Serial entrepreneur, really cool. I got to hear his story. This was actually hosted by the Jim Moran College of Entrepreneurship, and then also happened during the Florida Business Incubation Association. So really, really cool story. And then of course I met Joe. He's not quite a Billy, obviously, but I think he's a Millie. Joe Coy, famous Filipino comedian. He came for a show, so I got to meet him. It was really cool and very friendly. This CEO is kind of tiny, but this is Jeff Hoffman. He was the founder of Priceline.com, living the life now and just traveling, doing speaking engagements, inspiring other entrepreneurs. And I got to meet him. He was a keynote speaker at Domi Awards, and that was cool. And then I also got to meet the president of FSU and the dean, Miss Susan Fiorito and Wendy Plant. They are such a great crew over there at Jim Moran College. So I highly recommend getting involved with them if you're not already. I got to meet Guy Harvey's daughter. This event was when she got to speak at the Economics Club of Florida. I believe it's Economics Club of Florida. So I also highly recommend their lunch and learn events. Really cool. Okay. And then, there's some really cool stories of, like, this one guy, he is the co-founder of Nightcap. And he and his sister, they actually, like, I met him when he pitched his idea. I believe it was during Startup Week several years back when they presented their idea about Nightcap, which is pretty much like they custom made this like cover for a cup to prevent literally like people dropping in the date rape pill. And so it's such a great branding. And then it blew up on TikTok. And then also they went on Shark Tank. So it was really cool that I got to see him before he became famous, as a founder. And this was at Domi. This is at Domi Station. Chef Leon is obviously Tallahassee. People probably know him. He's a chef celebrity who's based out of Tallahassee, and he's already been featured on Hulu's what's that show called? Secret Chef. Yeah, he made it to the finals, but didn't win. It's okay. But yeah, he's also really, really good. What do you call those things? Oh, see, it's the name escapes me, but he's like one of the top in the world when it comes to Dance Dance Revolution, I believe. It's not one of those anyways, and then he also has got some upcoming chef shows. I believe he announced it. If they didn't air yet, I think it's gonna happen soon. But if it hasn't happened already. But he's already done tremendous work around town. He worked with a lot of food organizations in town to help people, the underprivileged community and the those who are starving. He's done like a lot of effective fundraisers in partnership with Tallahassee Foodies, and yeah, um, pretty amazing to meet such talent here in town. And then Tina Vidal Duar, small town enough that I got to meet her. I have mutual friends. My friend works for her, and so that's how I got to meet her before I even knew her status, really. So it was really cool to meet her briefly as well. This was another wonderful event that I attended by the United Way. She is see my memory is going to is drawing a blank, but I know she's she's a national reporter, I believe for Fox News, and news correspondent at DC, and she's from here in Tallahassee. Originally, she grew up here, and it was cool to hear her story. Same thing here, Crawfordville and Wakulla native, but also, consider it. Let me make sure. But she works at Amazon, and knowing she's the facilities manager, pretty much like who runs the show, the operations manager. I'm looking it up because I am not. Yes, general manager. Yes, I drew a blank, but I remember I've said her name hundreds of times already. Kimberly Price. This is so cool. Yeah, so super approachable, very nice. I will have to eventually figure out how I can get her as a host or guest. I mentioned I did do a lot of lives and episodes, so that's what our focus is. And then I've done stories for Filipino entrepreneurs. I've done stories with fellow friends and leaders. Not so much not always business owners, but like creatives, or they are influencers in town. And even those who are not based in Tallahassee have had guests. So some of the other work that I've done, you've seen microsites. Let me go back here. Yeah, this is a microsite. I did the branding for CityClips, and then we did the landing page. We've done, among other things, we've accomplished a lot. But the reason why I brought up pictures of my family, and I'm just going to fly through it, like I am from a big Filipino family from both sides of my family, and I just love people. I love to get together with a lot of people, and I think it's probably a Filipino thing. And yeah, I just love community, and I love to connect with others, and I like to support organizations that do a great job that do it. So I've come to realize I'm really passionate about helping people connect. I have a lot of fun doing that, and I love to also refer people for what they're great at. And so going back to the Tallahassee community, what I really like about this ecosystem is that it's still that you have the small town feel, it's small city, big town feel, and that there's like a more concerted effort to collaborate. I feel like there's been a transition now, maybe in smaller circles, there has always been that, but now I'm starting to see it expand to larger circles. And so what do I mean by that? It's because I've noticed that problems, and I've heard it from many people in the community, it's just like everyone feels disjointed, or there's a lot of organizations competing with one another unintentionally. But now, because Tallahassee's slowly growing, and it's still small, it's still a small city. So there's only so much that entrepreneurs can do with the time that they have. So with growth, of course, there comes with unintentional competition. We are at a secondary level of MSA, metropolitan statistical area, and we're about between, I've heard 200,000, and I've also seen somebody say, I forget the source, but 300,000. I'm like, where did they get that number from? But commonly cited as over 200,000. So that's the size that we're at. And yeah, some of the problems that I noticed too is that people, I don't know if it's the events that people are organizing are still like, everyone's still, and I've heard this from people, that Tallahassee is a last minute town. But the problem with that is that even with last minute, and maybe it's just a common thing where you might hear something and you'll spontaneously go because you're free, that week. But it doesn't have to be that way. I think if we show consistency and we give people enough notice, it doesn't, like, more people can actually attend and support your events. So that's something that we also found as a problem. And I borrowed this picture. I actually took this from somebody that presented. I will eventually cite the source, but this was such a great photo that, like, right when I saw it, I was like, light bulb moment. This is exactly what an ecosystem looks like in terms of demonstration. Like, here you see, and this was at a Florida Business Incubation Association speaking event. I highly recommend it. And I even told the speaker, I was like, you need to record this because this will help a lot of incubation managers. This will help a lot of ecosystem builders. I really liked it. And he had decades of experience of building and supporting startups in an incubation environment. So this is really like, if we were to, this is more of in the context of incubation, but I think this still applies to an ecosystem, right? You got angels, VC investors, educational partners, guiding connectors. That's you, meaning that is the incubation member, and program sponsors. We see a lot of that. Then there's the entrepreneur. They should be the focus. The entrepreneur should really be the focus of an ecosystem. Politicians, I thought it was pretty amusing that he did say that a politician was sitting down because they usually don't do much. Sorry, it's true. Service providers, that's me. That's the business owner that provides services to the entrepreneur. And then there's mentors and advisors. So that pretty much is a great example in terms of what the characters and actors look like in an ecosystem. And I really appreciated this session too. This is, if I could say his name right, Ash Mayoria. He actually is an author, and he focused on the concept of lean startup or starting lean. He's not, no, there's another author for lean startup, but I believe his book is called Running Lean, and something with lean. You could just look him up. Let me, while I pull that up, I can, if you can look at the picture, that's pretty much what describes like the typical entrepreneurial journey. And yes, so it's Ash Maria, Maurya, and the book title is called Running Lean: Iterate from Plan A to a Plan That Works. And the whole concept is all about, like, ideally, like, we would love for our journey to kind of be smoother instead of wandering aimlessly. Like, here, high risk, no money, and then all of a sudden you're just like, okay, where do I go? Who do I go to? That kind of thing. Like that. That's pretty much what my journey was like for about 10 years. And making a lot of mistakes, hitting dead ends, right? Failing, all that. But what he was saying, that it would be great if the focus, especially for high scale growth startups and tech startups, is that they focus on the problem. Instead of product market fit, focus on the actual problem. Anyways, I'm not going to dive into that detail, but I really, really liked this illustration because that's pretty much what happens to a lot of entrepreneurs. And then, yeah, so I ran into this a lot, and I've seen it with my peers as business owners that, you just get confused. It really does get confusing. With all the different resources that are in town and in the Tallahassee ecosystem, it's just like, where do we go? Do I really need to pay for another membership? I want to go to these 3 events, but they're all happening at the same time. We commonly ran into a lot of these issues. So one of the things that I bumped into along the way, which I really appreciate, just through mutual connections, being able to provide services to some of these folks, is ARROW, Alliance of Entrepreneur Resource Organizations. And I believe they've been in operation for several years now. Original founders involved Mike Campbell, shout out to Mike Campbell, and I believe the current, my brain is not working well today, OEV director, Keith Bowers. Yes. So both of them had started this originally. And then I put this map together just to kind of visualize where everyone is located. It's always helpful. So if you can see, like, this is a visual location and reference to all of these resources around town. Obviously, it's a little dated because I need to update TSC's logo and North Florida Innovation Labs logo. But you get the idea where everybody is at. And so the Alliance of Entrepreneur Resource Organizations, there's a whole list of them. There's probably at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, there's at least 18. And this does not even include, some others. But these are mostly nonprofit organizations that try to provide resources to help entrepreneurs grow their business. And for me, like, this is just a simple illustration of what a broad economic ecosystem. I mean, I put their logo in here because I made this for ARROW, and this was really me putting this together. It doesn't necessarily represent this is what they designed for themselves, to be transparent. But yeah, it makes sense. Like, okay, the cycle would be everyone starts somewhere with education. You learn somewhere, whether it's online or through the university system. And then you either are participating in different organizations to get started as a startup through incubation or labs or possibly an accelerator. Like, after you've started and proven a concept that is viable, then you can qualify for an accelerator, which the difference is that they actually include funding and provide funding. Unless you're like Tampa Bay Wave, that they don't require for you to lose any equity when you're part of their accelerator. And it's called, I believe it's called non-dilutive. They provide non-dilutive support. They source the funding from outside parties. They don't provide the direct funding. So Tampa Bay Wave in Florida is a great program to check out. And then, of course, growth. This is more significant growth. And then once you get to the established, sizable business that is probably more than a million plus, 10 billion if you're more established and more. And then these are the businesses that'll actually just contribute back to the community, most likely back to educational programs. And so, yeah, you have this cycle, very simple illustration of what that looks like. And then this is a more detailed breakdown that I put together, and it and represents like what, potentially at different touch points an entrepreneur might start at. So yeah, it's a more detailed breakdown: education, talent development, early stage business, and then you get networking. I put in chamber memberships, niche associations, clubs, small business programs, and then hopefully it goes back to actual regional impact and economic development and growth. Obviously, real estate would get a lot of major wins from that happening. So, commercial growth, and then going back to the community, you get a lot of companies who can actually start donating and contributing to charity and local endeavors. So, anyways, yeah, I hope this visual is a great starting point for those to kind of understand like what these organizations contribute towards. Um, and then I pulled this image. This is actually a screenshot of a really cool video that Innovation Park had on their website. The reason why I highlighted this is because we are strategically located right here in the middle. We're kind of like an island, they say, because we got so much rural areas. Like you got Tallahassee, and then there's a lot of nothing in between these points. Panama City is not too far, but there's a lot of trees. So there's a few dead zones here. And then here you got Jacksonville, really not that far. And even Gainesville, we don't have it here. We don't, it's just relatively, it's actually Gainesville is even like closer. It's probably a little under 2 hours drive. And if you think about it, like Silicon Valley, having come from San Francisco and driving around the Bay Area with traffic, it's about 3 hours, give or take, going from San Jose to San Francisco, even to the East Bay, and living in Fairfield. My parents eventually commuted. I grew up in Daly City. They commuted and they would do 2-hour drives one way from Fairfield to go to their office in San Francisco in Daly City. So just think about it from that perspective, that at some point, not that I think that we should become Silicon Valley, but at some point realizing that if North Florida is going to continue to grow, Tallahassee can grow. I mean, all these cities are just going to grow further and further towards each other. We're all going to expand towards each other. And so, just I'd like to kind of get an idea from local leaders, like what do we want to, what does our growth look like? And how do we want that to, what does the execution look like? That is ethical, that is safe for the environment, that is safe for the community, so that, we do not become the next San Francisco. Nothing against San Francisco, but I mean, I've visited recently, and it's not like the easiest place to live. So, okay, so going back to Tallahassee, I'd like to get an idea of like who has clarity on what that vision looks like and what the growth looks like. And here strategically, look, this is something I pulled from that other video. You got FAMU here, this is downtown area. This is FSU, obviously formerly known as TCC, now TSC. You got these 3 universities not too far from Innovation Park. That's another strategic thing to be aware of. Highlighting this is where like the high scale growth, high tech companies are going to. We have several already that have offices here and buildings here. Just nobody knows it. Nobody even knows that the Mag Lab is there. Mag Lab, the world's pretty much largest mag laboratory, is housed here, right there at Innovation Park. So yeah, I pulled this picture of Silicon Valley, and I thought it would be really neat to kind of see, and I'm not going to dive into it, but you can kind of see like how, like, okay, here, this is, if you zoom in, this is, let me see if I can just, if it'll let me, but yeah, here's Berkeley. You got that university, you see Berkeley, and then it's not far from Oakland. And then over here is San Francisco Bay Area. I used to commute from Berkeley to San Francisco for school. And all these huge tech companies. And then right here is Stanford. To go from here to here, it's probably about 2 hours with traffic. But without traffic, it probably would have been less than an hour. And then what else do I see? Sunnyvale, Mountain View. My goodness, almost every city here. Oh, yeah. Santa Clara, San Jose. You got Adobe in San Jose. You got some of the more recognizable brands like Fujifilm in Santa Clara. Everybody knows that Meta's over in Palo Alto area. And yeah, Oracle, San Mateo. It's not from the Dropbox is there. Yeah, anyways, I can keep going. Over here, it starts to get a little empty because that's where the hills are. But yeah, no, it's really kind of neat. And Sacramento's over here. There is, and then I know like Walnut Creek, that's where a bunch of Golden State Warrior athletes, I think Steph Curry lives over there in Concord area. He might have sold his house, but anyways, don't quote me on that. But yeah, as you can see, like it's super saturated, and a lot of it had to do with the university system and the talent that they produced over there. So, okay, so here in North Carolina, that's another ecosystem I wanted to pull because I've asked some mentors, like, okay, you know, if we were to look at some successful ecosystems that aren't Silicon Valley, what would they be? And Bill Lixon, I consider as a mentor, he told me like the Research Triangle in the North Carolina area is a great place to look at and potentially replicate. And he's been following incubation programs for quite some time now, and also looking at ecosystems for quite some time. So it was kind of neat to see when I found this graphic here. You've got the 3 universities, Duke, and then you got UNC, and then NC State. So they created, there's a triangle, if you will, and I don't know if it'll let me zoom in. I'm not sure. Oh, cool. So might as well zoom in. And the research park is literally located at the center in this area. It's not too far from the international airport. Where is it? Research. And then Triangle North Executive Airport. And then they highlighted some of the counties nearby. So yeah, it's really neat. And then you got a lot of different airports, looks like. So that explains why they've had a lot of success in the last 30 years of growth, in terms of growth, because I believe they started investing in working together and collaborating instead of competing against each other. They, as in the ecosystem partners, like universities, and then the business partners that they have there. So that was really helpful to see. They're now reaping the benefits of a lot of success. Another place is Austin. I really like this graphic, AVI Systems put this together, and I found it online. So if I were to zoom in just so you can see a little bit better. Oh, so they wanted to call it Silicon Hills. Huh, interesting. Interesting statistics. It is, as of 2022, USA's fastest growing large metro in the last decade. I know Austin is experiencing a ton of traffic right now, and it's grown to the point now people are kind of like, the original Austin folks are like, I want to leave because too many people moved here. Yeah, it's definitely another successful tech ecosystem. And I was looking at an interesting stat that I believe, I mean, I need to pull this and add it to the slide, but I believe they were the size of Tallahassee in 1970. So Austin's population at 200,000 year. Let's see what it pulls. So I think it was 9, because I mixed it up last time when I spoke about it, that they, yeah, it was around, I thought it was 2007, but that's not true. It was actually 1970 when it was at about 200,000. Crazy, right? Crazy growth. Let me see. 1990, the population jumped. What was the actual current status? Oh, okay. So yeah, the biggest jump happened between 1990 and 2000 when almost 200,000 people moved to Austin that left the city with about 656,000 people. And so that was their biggest jump from 90s to the 2000s. And then they say that what contributed to that growth, a lot of it had to do with the success of Dell and Michael Dell and tech, and him investing back into the tech community, especially UT Austin. So shout out to Michael Dell for making that happen. But yeah, really cool stats. 11% of all jobs are STEM occupations, 6 most concentrated among large US metros. And then 8,300 employers are in high-tech industries. So yeah, that's talking about a booming tech ecosystem that we can learn from. I don't think we're going to try to become the next Austin, but hey, there is a starting point. I got one of my team members to help me pull as many tech company logos as possible, and it's a pretty great looking tech ecosystem if you ask me. I'm sure this does not represent everyone by all means, but these are the ones that I've known that have more visibility, have had success. These are businesses ranging from maybe, single digit millions to multi-million to over 100+ million. Not to obviously, forget like big guys like Amazon being the largest private employer in Tallahassee now. And yeah, and then there's some really cool tech companies that nobody knows exist. Like if you're in the chamber world, you're familiar with Danfoss, but for the common person in Tallahassee, they might have not heard of Danfoss. But they have patent technology that has a lot to do with like compressor devices, and they've been majorly a huge contributor to the large, you could say, HVAC systems that now are blowing up in the data center world. So that, talking about innovation there, and one of the, I guess, CEOs, Rick Carter Schneider, he made the decision, or one of the leading partners at the time before he became CEO, they wanted to be in Tallahassee because of the Mag Lab and being here in Tallahassee. And he made the big move to move from Northeast to Little Tallahassee several years ago, decades ago. And their investment is paying off in huge dividends. So we did put some in geographic location to kind of look them up and where they are. Here's some of the biggest ones that we know to have huge valuations. And so going back to highlighting the Tallahassee ecosystem, and just to reiterate like the point of why we started CityClips in the first place, because we want to inform people. We want to help our fellow entrepreneurs and fellow business owners and let them know that there are great resources in town that can help them get started and grow, particularly in the tech world. And we do want to become a town that is ideal. We do want to become an ecosystem that is ideal for small tech businesses to grow and thrive. And so, CityClips wants to be here for it. We want to help follow that journey, and we want to help highlight the local success stories that happen here in town. So, if like I mentioned, CityClips is all about highlighting those stories. We try to recapture and reshare it on a daily basis. We generally provide information that can be recapped and reviewed in less than 5 minutes of information. We wanted to help solve the problem of disjointed communication, and I believe we're accomplishing all that. And we are a safe space. We try to avoid anything that's controversial. We don't talk about politics, despite how political this town is. But we are getting so much positive feedback from our loyal readers. And instead of spending so much money on an event to get 100 people to show up one time, we actually have a captured audience of 100 folks consistently reading on a daily basis throughout the entire year. So our hope is to grow that list from just right now we're at 300. We're hoping to grow to 10,000 by next year. I believe it's going to happen. And for those of you who've been following our journey, you know that I've been saying that for a while, but sometimes you just got to manifest it. These are our content days and this is what our content editorial looks like. And we do have local CEOs, influencers, executive directors subscribe to, and even creators. We want to highlight creators as well, because that's a whole nother booming economy that's taking off in terms of future talent and workforce development goes. And better to show you than tell you that CEOs are actually liking the content that we're providing. So wanted to highlight that, and thank you, Eddie, for always being a ambassador and championing the Tallahassee community. Have to highlight that, especially with everything he's doing with Launch Tally and Rivos. Really awesome, and appreciate him. Sean, means a lot to me that you continue to support CityClips. So giving him a shout out, and thanks for also providing positive feedback and testimonial as well. And this is the current outlook of what we're finding with the market size that we're trying to appeal to. There's probably more. I am finding that there are some other smaller towns of business owners, and we found some really cool data that we'll eventually share about, stats in not just Tallahassee area, but the nearby cities and how many businesses are represented in those areas. So that was kind of neat. Benefits of CityClips. I hope you found that this episode was helpful. We are learning a lot by contributing information and sharing information to the broader business community. And so we would eventually at some point, and we have had featured partners, monthly partners for CityClips. So in a sense, we want to be your kind of like a local version of a PR newswire. So for those businesses that don't have a ton of time to do any kind of PR or micro press releases, this is a great solution to provide for other businesses. So PR Newswire, like I said, if you're not familiar with it, it's a platform that PR professionals, that's public relation professionals, that uses to just kind of reshare press releases and announcements of businesses. And I have subscribed to those things. I've even subscribed to Business Wire, and I am not finding helpful information that's local. We source a lot of this information. The common question that I have, they're like, how do you have time to find all this information? And we have an efficient process that helps us find really useful info that could help the local community. And then also just we sometimes highlight statewide information and also include regional information that should be brought to light. Because if you are like me, you don't want to go to a news platform that's cluttered with so many ads and a lot of depressing news. So we're trying to be a source of information for the business community without all that drama. And that's why we put together CityClips for a reason. And yeah, subscribe today. Would love to have you subscribe. It's free to subscribe, and we don't plan on charging our subscribers. So we have plans to monetize in the near future, and it has a lot to do with our monthly partners. So hopefully you found this episode helpful. I look to refine this message a little bit better. It's different when you're talking to camera, but at some point, I hope to come up and find the people who want to help me refine the vision of Tallahassee and making it a successful ecosystem for all business and tech entrepreneurs. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you guys later. Bye.